Hello. It's good to see you. Today we are going to be reading a little bit more from this book. It's a very old book that a subscriber sent some photocopies of the pages to me. Just some different sections from this book. And it's the woman's book. I don't know how old it is. Oh, it's from 1894. It's down here. 1894, my goodness. And this is a pattern going around here that has words on it, and it tells you some of the topics that are discussed in here. You'll have to forgive me. I'm still under the weather. My son was kind enough to bring home a cold from school, and I'm still a little sick, so I'm not 100%, but I'm going to do my best. Topics discussed in here are the home, social life, the garden, dress, education, books and reading, house building, furnishing, rugs, hygiene, housekeeping, children, china, occupations, outside opportunities, and business affairs. So it covers a lot of topics. We have read some sections of this book previously. It looks like the section that we read last time dealt with the principles of housekeeping. And we went through quite a bit of that. We went through these sections here. Wow. I don't know, did we really read all this? Goodness. Okay, looks like we stopped here. I'm just going to come down to the very next. Let's see. We'll just start here. It looks like we stopped right there. This section deals with the adulteration of foods. There are standard books on the adulterations of food, but their sales never make the fortunes of the scientists who write them. Publishers do not clamor for the privilege of putting their imprint on the title pages, while not a few are put in printed form by the efforts of the philanthropist. The American public is to be congratulated upon this useful and valuable contribution to the needs of its great army of working people, made possible through the humanitarian benevolence of a private citizen. This was the 5th prize offered by the same citizen through the same channel for the noble purpose of ameliorating in some degree the hardships which baffle mankind in the tireless struggle for existence. And that is a quote from the report of the Secretary of the American Public Health Association, referring to the prizes offered by Mr. Henry Lom of Rochester, New York, through the American Public Health Association. Yet no intelligent woman ought to feel that her household furnishings are complete unless her kitchen library contains the standard books, not only on recipes, but the scientific books on the basis of foods and their preparation in the manner that secures the preservation of their values. Simple tests are possible to detect adulterations in food, yet few housekeepers know how to make these tests. It is not possible in the limits of this chapter to give chemical tests. Mrs. Ellen H. Richards has published 2 books, one on food materials and their adulteration, and one on the chemistry of cooking and feeding, both published by Estes and Laureate of Boston, Massachusetts. These books are necessary in every house where its mistress has a care for the best results for money expended and the desire to secure these results with the least waste. We are beginning to understand the importance of a pure water supply. We are also beginning to understand that there are certain chemical properties of water that are detrimental, if not harmful, to certain physical conditions. How many housekeepers submit the water that must be used by the family to a chemical test? Yet a note, the paying expressage of a bottle of water to a chemist and the expenditure of a few dollars might save many dollars and even life. There are a few simple tests that any housekeeper may try, such as the dissolving of a few grains of white sugar in a pint of water and exposing the bottle to the light in a warm room for 10 days. If the water is turbid, there is danger from sewer contamination. But there are other perils, other dangers that threaten the life of the family through the water supply. And a chemist should be employed to test the water supply, as we employ a sanitary engineer to determine questions of plumbing and sewage. The waste through adulteration of food is not as great as some would have us believe. The development of machinery, the discovery of valuable food in materials considered of no value, has increased the world's food supply and cheapened production of food so much that it does not pay to adulterate. The articles of food that are most adulterated are condiments. The staple articles of food are, on the whole, pure. Science has forced this. By her laboratories, microscopes, and spirit of research, she compels pure food. The manufacturer of food dare not defy her, for he knows that she is searching always to prove her value to the world. She cannot be bought, for her disciples are ready to defend her, should one be weak enough to yield to the touch of gold. Public sentiment is the best safeguard, and that is possible only when the intelligence of the community is active and compels purity and cleanliness in the sources of food supply. If the food supplies are bought without due care as to the sources, then the community must suffer in health and pocket. The president of the American Institute of Mining Engineers in 1882 said, "Scientific housekeeping is neither beneath the attention of the refined, nor beyond the reach of the uncultured. It is the duty of the rich. It is the salvation of the poor." This truth is becoming popular. Ellen H. Richards, in Food Materials and Their Adulteration, says, "It is only in the undeveloped stages of a mechanical invention that it is complicated and runs with friction. The perfected machine is noiseless in its action and simple in construction. The machinery of daily life should respond to the slightest touch of the household engineer, one who knows all about it." Again, she says, "Cooking has become an art worthy the attention of intelligent and learned women. The laws of chemical action are founded upon the laws of definite proportion, and whatever is added more than enough is in the way. That sums up the whole principle of housekeeping. Not the proper way to dress the maid, serve a dinner, nor the proper furnishings of a table is the sum of knowledge that constitutes housekeeping, but the knowledge of every department in theory, if not in practice. This is to know it all." The kitchen is a most important part of every house. On it depends the physical life and, we now know, to a large degree, the spiritual life of the family. Realizing this importance, we give to it the time and thought necessary to secure its perfection in furnishing and management. In furnishing, the prevention of friction is the most important thing. We now paint our kitchen walls because it makes cleanliness possible without making great demands on strength and without causing the disarrangement of the days of whitewashing and calcimining. A cupboard with glass doors not only ornaments the kitchen, but is an incentive to have bright cooking ware in orderly arrangement. The perfect kitchen will have glass doors to all closets, that the mistress, on entering the room, may at a glance discover disorder. Within a year, aluminum has been produced so cheaply that it is now made into kitchen utensils and sold at a price that is not beyond the purchasing power of the housekeeper of even limited means. The utensils are as beautiful as silver and so light in weight as to startle one on first handling. They can be kept as bright as silver with very little effort and are indestructible. The agate ware, which is deservedly so popular because of the ease with which it can be cleaned and its lightness, is probably the next best ware for cooking utensils today. The number and variety of pots, pans, and boilers depend on the size of the family and scale of living maintained. One large pot for boiling meats and soups, with one medium and two small pots, or the reverse, according to the size of the family. A soapstone griddle is essential if pancakes are to gladden the hearts and stir the imaginations of the family on winter mornings. A waffle iron, gridiron, colander, steamer, 2 sizes of pudding boilers, large and small, are among the first essentials. Decorative pie plates are the most attractive, but the white porcelain and the pottery with white glaze are much better than plates of any other material. The decorated plates add to the appearance of the dessert when it is placed on the table. Care should be taken in selecting all pie dishes, no matter what the material, to select those that do not rise in the center. That makes the pie thin in the middle. A good pie is always thick, no matter what the filling. A covered bread raiser is an absolute necessity if one wishes good bread. This should never be used for anything but the raising of bread. Earthen bowls must be many and of all sizes if the mistress expects to keep her table dishes out of the refrigerator and wire closet. If she wishes to save her table silver, she must provide at least 1/2 dozen of large and small spoons with steel knives and forks of good quality, besides cake and cooking spoons for the kitchen. A Dover egg beater, a whip churn, cake board, glass or porcelain rolling pin, measuring cups, thermometer, scales, all are absolute necessities of a well-appointed kitchen. Tin boxes for sugar and cereals. Tin closets with shelves are the best kind of cake boxes. Flower closets or boxes with sifters in the bottom are convenient, as they can stand on a shelf in the kitchen. The flour is sifted into a drawer at the bottom, and the quantity, large or small, can be measured out of the drawer. In addition, the flour scoop and flour sifter should be kept conveniently near, as cake is better if the flour is sifted into the measuring cup. The flour packs when lifted in the spoon. Wire straining sieves, a double boiler, and a frying basket are among the conveniences. A set of skewers, salt box, pepper boxes, and flour dredgers, spice box, and knife box are the possessions of every mistress who values a place for everything and everything in its place. Glass or porcelain jars for coffee, glass jars for rice, barley, tapioca, sago, tea, and the like save time and temper. Tin boxes should have the names of the contents on the outside. Provision for the care of every article of dry groceries should be made so that there would be no excuse for paper parcels on pantry shelves or in closets. It should be possible for every housekeeper to take an account of stock, dressed for the street if necessary. Papers are a bid always for carelessness and disorder. When the groceries are delivered, they should be put in their appointed place at once. This rule is economical. If the proper vessel is empty, supplies are needed. If groceries are left in paper bags, there is always the possibility of a double supply or no material at the moment it is wanted for cooking. In these days of enameled paint, the walls and shelves of all kitchen closets should be painted. Painted shelves can be wiped off with a damp cloth every day if need be. Paper in kitchen closets is always a bid for dust and vermin. A painted shelf permits no hiding places. Zinc-covered tables are the best kitchen tables, if one cannot have marble. Every housekeeper knows that the condition of the wooden-topped kitchen table offers the possibility of discussion every day. A zinc-covered table cannot be burned and can be kept bright at so little expense of strength that even an indifferent maid is ashamed to have it warrant rebuke. The range or stove is a most important article of furniture and is always selected for its reputation for economizing heat. The beautiful tiled ranges exhibited at the Columbian Fair were works of art and are the fitting outcome of this age when art is the handmaiden of the home. The perfect range has glass doors, a recent invention, and a hook on the inside for a thermometer. The range should be so placed as to command the best light. Hardwood floors are the best kind of floors in a kitchen. Linoleum or oilcloth, according to the purse of the buyer, are the second and third choices. Intelligence does not countenance carpet on kitchen floors in these days. Soapstone or earthen tubs are now the rule, not the exception, where there are set tubs in laundry or kitchen. For the portable tubs, those of paper are lighter and more durable than the wooden tubs. Paper pails are more durable than wooden, as they do not shrink. A wringer is an economy for laundress and clothes. Galvanized iron clotheslines are better than rope. No patent clothespin surpasses the old-fashioned pin cut from one piece of wood. Zinc washboards are better than wooden ones. There are patent boilers on the market for boiling clothes, but the use of them adds to the labor of washing, and the results gained do not equal the results obtained by the old-fashioned method of boiling. Washing machines are a very great help in laundry work if the cook laundress can be persuaded to use them. For the smaller articles, napkins, handkerchiefs, fine aprons, and such articles are more rumpled than soiled. The washing machine performs all the labor of rubbing. For sheets and tablecloths, they are a great labor saver. Servants refuse to use them because they must be carried from the cellar and back again. It is intelligence that is able to appreciate the difference in expending strength, not ignorance. Ignorance fights innovation. The combination ironing table and seat and closet is a most convenient article of furniture. This, with a skirt board, 4 irons, holders, and wax rubbers, completes the laundry department of the kitchen. Fuel is a constant and therefore important item of expense. Probably there is as much friction between the mistress and the maid on this one item as on all other subjects combined. Every housekeeper must experiment if she is to produce the best results with the least cost. Having discovered the best, it is her business to see that the maid is informed on this subject, and then insist on obedience to the law discovered. We keep 2 hot fires in our ranges. One reason is we do not make ourselves familiar with the various kinds of fuel. Charcoal is not used in the United States except by chefs. An American family will keep up a coal fire large enough to roast a large piece of meat to broil 2 pounds of steaks or chops. A few pieces of charcoal burning in what we might call a slitted pan or in one of the larger iron baskets sold for frying crullers, and set down on a coal fire which only half fills the grate, broils far better than a large coal fire and costs but a trifle. For all quick cooking, 2 handfuls of charcoal are much better than a full grate of coal. Gas in most cities is a cheaper fuel than coal, for it burns only while required for cooking. There is no waste and no dirt. If but 1 pot is needed for cooking, but 1 burner is needed, and gas stoves are perfect in equipment today. The cheapest gas stove is the flat gas stove, to be used on a zinc-covered table. Its first cost is less, and the consumption of gas in running it is less than with any other gas stove. The oven bought with this stove should always be the one of Russian wrought iron. These ovens are double, and the heat circulates around the entire oven. The lower shelf of this oven has a V-shaped piece of iron attached to the under part of the lower shelf to deflect the heat. This is described as a modern gas stove. This is a flat gas stove, and this is a gas water heater right here. Even then, a pan of water should be placed in the bottom of the oven. Tin ovens should never be bought to use on these gas stoves. The cast iron gas ranges are as complete in themselves as a coal range. Their construction equalizes the heat instead of concentrating it directly on one point for baking, as must be in a detachable oven. The large-sized gas range has a water back which heats the boiler, keeping it supplied with hot water. There is also a gas heater for water which can be attached to any boiler. But the cost of a cheap gas stove and the heater equals the cost of a gas range with water back, which is the more economical to run. And this is described as an electric kitchen, sketched from one in operation. Oil has the element of danger and requires care and labor in its use, but it is far preferable to coal in summer, both for cheapness and comfort. There are patent fuels, that is, they are patented in America, but have long been in common use in France, that are made of coal dust, tar, and sawdust, and by pressure are reduced to different sizes. This fuel is very useful where space is limited and gas unavailable. Stoves are made that are adapted to the use of these fuels, and for the woman without a servant, they will always be found a great convenience. The perfect house has the kitchen heated through radiators. Water is supplied for kitchen, laundry, and bath purposes from boilers in the cellar. Electricity is the household servant of the near future. At present, it is only possible where there is a current running through the streets, or where there is a wealth enough to maintain dynamos and a competent engineer. Cooking by electricity costs very much more than by gas. It is somewhat cleaner, and the heat can be controlled better. An oven designed for roasting and heated by electricity will do half the cooking after the electricity is turned off. This is a steam cooker. Meters are now made which will admit the regulating of the current that enters the house. This puts the control of the supply in the hands of the servant. There has recently been invented and brought into general use, especially for the tenement house people, a gas meter in which, by mechanical arrangement, a 25-cent piece can be dropped and only 25 cents worth of gas can be consumed. The attachment of this meter to the kitchen supply of gas would reduce the cost very greatly, for servants would then see the immediate expenditure of money, which they could not realize unless a forcible illustration were brought to them in this way. This is one reason why it is well to accustom a servant to do the marketing once in a while, giving her the money. She realizes, as in no other way, the cost of things, and particularly the cost of waste. The convenience of electricity and its healthfulness are well understood. There comes to mind now a parlor where electricity supplies the heat, where it boils the water for the 5 o'clock cup of tea, where it furnishes light at every conceivable point of convenience, where it does part of the work of cooking. But the head of the house is a noted electrician. Electricity will yet be the quiet, obedient servant of the housekeeper of limited purse. But its application to the service of the family has hardly even reached the stage of well-developed infancy, because of its cost and ignorance of how to control it. It will only be the useful servant of the housekeeper when it is fully under her control, as coal, wood, and steam. Cooking with steam is not as common a practice as it should be with us. The Arnold steamer is one of the best on the market. The entire dinner can be prepared for cooking and placed in compartments of the steamer without fear of scorching. The lower pan must be kept supplied with water, and for this reason, even for a small family, the largest size cooker is the best. The water pan of a small cooker is too little. The water evaporates too rapidly. The several pans are lighter to wash than the ordinary cooking utensils. The woman who owns a steam cooker and knows how to use it does not fear the discomfort of being without a cook. For the woman with no servant, the steam cooker is essential because it lightens labor. It has also the quality of preserving food flavors. The chafing dish is another essential of the kitchen, or more truly, of the dining room. Someone has said that a woman never looks better than when preparing a salad, but the man who said it certainly never saw her cooking breakfast or lunch on a chafing dish. A fine tablecloth, pretty dishes, a vigorous fern in the center of the table, a brass kettle for boiling water for the coffee, a chafing dish, a bowl of eggs, a silver fork, a daintily clad woman, leisurely preparing the attractive dish for the breakfast, is a background that lends poetry to the hardest and most vexatious day. With its aid, cold meat can be made delicious, and many dainties too delicate for the clumsy brain and hand of the maid-of-all-work can be easily supplied by the mistress, even in her dinner toilet. For the Sunday night tea, it becomes a pan of magic, the contents of which are mixed with grace and home love. This is a silver chafing dish. A sudden transition to the Aladdin oven, which stands for nutrition and economy, must be made. The Aladdin oven has its place in every kitchen. For the house without a servant, it is indispensable. Professor Edward Atkinson says, "The true science of cooking consists in the regulated and controlled application of heat by which flavors are developed, and the work of converting raw, indigestible materials into nutritive food is accomplished. This the Aladdin oven does." The Aladdin oven costs $27. The first outlay is more than met in the economy of fuels and foods the first year. Professor Atkinson, who speaks with authority, says, "All the modern cooking stoves and ranges are wasteful and more or less unsuitable for use. All the ordinary methods of quick baking, roasting, and boiling are bad, and finally, almost the whole of the coal or oil used in cooking is wasted." The smell of cooking in the ordinary way gives evidence of waste of flavor as well as a waste of nutritious properties. In most cases, the unpleasant smell also gives evidence that the food is being converted into an unwholesome condition, conducive to indigestion and dyspepsia. 9/10 of the time devoted to watching the process of cooking is wasted. The heat and discomfort of the room in which the cooking is done are evidence of worse than waste. The warming of the room or house with the apparatus used for cooking is inconsistent with the best method of cooking, and might be compassed at much less cost if the process of cooking were separated from the process of warming the room or dwelling. And this is an illustration of an Aladdin oven. No fuel which cannot be wholly consumed is really fit to use in the process of cooking. And again, If the common range or stove now in position in your dwellings were used only for heating the kitchen, boiling water, boiling potatoes, and heating water for circulation through the house, the saving of the mere excess of coal which is now burned in order to force the oven to a heat suitable for quick cooking would weigh more than the food to which the heat is applied. I think, but I am not sure on this point, that 1/2 or more of the coal which is now used to do the cooking, as well as to warm the kitchen and heat water, may be saved by the adoption of my apparatus for the cooking, while only depending on the ordinary range or stove for the rest of the service. Women are conservative. They do not welcome innovation. The beaten track, the pitfalls and snares of which are familiar, is preferred to the untried road, which has a new set of dangers. Then in economics, women see the first outlay rather than future savings. To spend money today with the hope that it will be an investment that will yield returns and profits, and finally become a sinking fund, requires a wider knowledge of the laws of investment than the majority of women possess. The mistake is constantly made of looking upon household expenses as wholly matters of outlay that do not make returns. That is a mistake. No money invested yields the returns that wisely expended house money returns. There is as great an opportunity for investing money that means profits in the management of a home as in the management of any business. It has been said with great truth that the destruction of the poor is their poverty, which is saying they never have the money to use that would save money. This makes their condition more pathetic. When intelligence refuses to take advantage of present outlay to secure future returns in comfort, as well as dollars and cents, the revelation of this mental condition adds contempt to pity. The Aladdin oven suffers, in common with the gas stove, in that it does not keep water hot during the cooking process for the purposes of household use. No method of cooking arrangements which does not keep hot water available for the many purposes necessary in every kitchen can meet the need of the woman who depends on the fuel used in cooking for her hot water supply. Until hot water is supplied from mains in the streets, as cold water now is, or from boilers in the basement, as it is now in the best apartment houses, no method of cooking can meet the demands of the family life as well as our present method of range and boiler heated by coal, though it is by far the most wasteful. The Aladdin oven has proved its value. Where the question is how to secure the greatest amount of nutrition at the least expense of money, time, and strength, this wonderful invention of Professor Atkinson has answered it. A great bar to its acceptance has been removed since the mode of cooking in the Aladdin oven by Helen H. Richards and Mary Hinman Abel has been published by Clark W. Bryan, Springfield, Massachusetts. No cookbook met the difficulties of the principles of slow cooking, and the Aladdin oven suffered because time could not be given in each household for the experiment that each meal became when the oven was used by a novice. Now we have a scientific cookbook adapted to a scientific method of cooking. To the housekeeper who never expects to use the Aladdin oven, this book is invaluable because in language that is intelligible to the lay mind, the money value of foods is clearly shown. The chief advantages of the Aladdin oven are economy of food, saving of fuel, the preservation of food flavors, so that the materials left over from one meal to the next are found as nutritious and appetizing, cooked a second or even a third time. The great economy of labor. A dinner of materials that require about the same amount of cooking can be placed in the oven, and if the lamp has been properly regulated and the directions carefully followed, at the expiration of the specified time, the dinner can be served properly cooked. There is no possibility of its being underdone or overdone. It has been cooked without any sense of responsibility after it has once been placed in the oven. Cooking is not a mystery, a gift limited to a certain few. It is based on scientific principles that, once understood, ensure success if always heeded. Professor Atkinson says that good material in this country is converted into bad feeding. In other words, for lack of science in the economy of the kitchen, $1 billion worth a year of potential energy is wasted. Producing the best results in cooking is a subject worthy of every housekeeper's attention and investigation. Learning recipes will not make a cook. It is the learning of principles. There comes to mind now the graduate of a cooking school who filled an order for gingerbread, using syrup instead of molasses, producing a sticky and coffee-colored cake. The first pan should have shown her that she had made a mistake, but apparently it did not. She filled her order to serve 125 people with this stuff. Professor Atkinson says, a good cook must put forth a little gumption. This cook lacked gumption. No amount of training would make her a cook. The basis of cooking, as of everything else, is the degree of intelligence given to the subject. If the interest is superficial, the attention subdivided, the result must always be uncertain, a matter of chance. And we are going to stop there with the principles of housekeeping. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you're enjoying hearing stuff like this. I love to read all sorts of different kinds of things. This is from a book that is well over 100 years old, and it's very interesting to learn a little bit about times past. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again really soon.